Hi, welcome to Safe at Home Manitoba. I'm Chef Amanda. I'm here on behalf of Assiniboine Community College, and today I'm going to show you my version of Thai coconut curry soup. So today we're going to start with carrots, onions, and celery, the basis of many soups. And to that we're also going to add mushrooms and chopped up red pepper. We're going to add it in a large pot with about 2 tablespoons of olive oil to start off with. Into the pot we are going to add about 2 medium yellow onions, or about 3 cups is what the equivalent is, as well as just over a cup of the same size of diced carrots, and the exact same amount of diced celery. It equals to be about 2 regular sized carrots and about 3 stalks of celery. We're going to add this all to the pot, and with that we are going to add about 2 cups of thinly sliced cremini mushrooms, or about a 200 gram package. We're going to add that into our pot. We're going to get it all nice and mixed up. We're going to sweat down our vegetables, just like we do with most soups. And then to this we're going to add about a teaspoon or so of kosher salt, just to help get some of those juices out of our vegetables and get everything sweated down. I also have some red pepper that we're going to add to this. I just don't like to add it at the beginning of the soup because it turns out to be a little bit mushy by the time our soup is finished. So we're going to add that a little bit closer to the end. Today with our ingredients too, we are going to also use some things that you probably don't normally have in your pantry, but they're easy to find at most grocery stores in the international aisle. And if you can't find them in the international aisle, you can usually find them at any international grocery store. We have some Thai red curry paste here. This comes in red, green, and yellow. My favorite happens to be red, mostly for the flavor and also for aesthetic purposes as well. We're going to use that. We are also going to use some fish sauce. Fish sauce you can find at any grocery store. You don't need a lot of it, so a little bottle will stay good in your fridge for quite a while. We also have some coconut milk and some chicken stock, some freshly grated ginger, and some garlic as well, about 3 cloves of garlic, and probably about a tablespoon of ginger. We're going to add this when our vegetables are about halfway done sweating, just so the garlic doesn't overpower everything and doesn't burn and stick to the bottom of the pot. This is going to make quite a bit of soup. Should feed a good family for a few days. If not, the soup also freezes well. Near the end of cooking of our soup, I also have 3 chicken breasts that I have roasted and just kind of diced up and shredded a little bit. And we also have some freshly diced tomato, about a cup of that. This I will add at the end of our soup, as well as some fresh cilantro. And these here are lime leaves. Lime leaves are kind of like the Thai version of our bay leaves, I suppose. They don't usually come fresh. Usually you can find them frozen. They come in large bags at any international grocery store as well. They add like a crazy amount of flavor. If you can't find these, no big deal. You can also just use a lime, and with a vegetable peeler, just peel off 1 or 2 pieces of zest. They just tend to be a little bit more bitter because of the pith that comes off when you peel it. Either one will work. Both will put off good flavor, so you should be okay with either. Our vegetables are sweating pretty well today. They're about halfway done now. I'm just going to let these go for about another 5 minutes, and then to that we will add our garlic and our curry paste. Okay, so our vegetables are about 3/4 of the way done. We have quite a bit in here, but we're making a big pot of soup, so that's okay. Now to this, I'm going to add our ginger and garlic. Add it into the pot. Well, mostly into the pot with everything else. And then to that, I'm gonna add our curry paste. Inside the tub of curry, it actually comes in a big bag like this. It keeps well for a really long time, but if you know you're not gonna use it by the expiry date, you can always freeze it in cubes and take it out as needed. To this, I'm gonna say about 2 tablespoons of the curry paste. I'm gonna add it in now with our vegetables that are sweating, just so it gets mixed in, so it is incorporated in properly. Also, this is a little bit spicy, so it really depends on your heat factor, whether or not you like things really spicy or a little bit spicy or not spicy at all. If you don't like anything spicy, I don't recommend making this soup because it does have a little bit of a kick to it. So we're gonna mix this in, and it's almost like mixing in tomato paste. So you wanna do it while things are hot and not a lot of liquid, because it might get lost in the liquid in a big ball, and then when you're eating your soup, you're gonna get a giant chunk of curry paste, and then you might be crying for a little bit. So we're gonna mix it all together so it evenly coats your vegetables. So it's gonna turn everything this really nice shade of red. Orangey red, I suppose. And get that fully incorporated. Once that's fully incorporated, we are going to add our lime leaves. I have 4 here. They're kind of tiny. You can get bigger ones. Sometimes they come bigger, smaller in the package. It really just depends on what you're doing. If you're using lime zest instead of lime leaves, I would also add those in right now. So now that this is nicely incorporated, I have no lumps left of curry paste in here. This is where I'm going to add my coconut milk and my chicken stock. Now for the coconut milk, you're going to want to use the full fat coconut milk. It just adds a lot more body to your soup than if you were using light. But if for some reason you can't find the full fat, or you just have the light stuff in your house, that will work as well. So coconut milk, usually the full fat stuff comes with this big thick creamy layer of coconut milk on the top. I like to open mine upside down, and then you get all the liquid out first, and then you have less chance of making a giant mess. So I'm gonna add that in right now. Between 2 and 3 cans, depending on how much soup you're making. So that went in very easily. This one, odds are I'm gonna make a mess, but I'm gonna do it anyways. Not too bad today. So I have my 2 cans of coconut milk in here. Now this is when I'm going to add my red pepper. Like I said, I added it a little bit later on because I don't want it to be mushy inside my soup. So I'm gonna add my red pepper in with that. Get it mixed up all together with coconut milk. And then to this now I'm going to add chicken stock. So here I have ready to use chicken stock. It's almost a full liter here. I'm gonna add this in. If you are going for vegetarian soup or vegan, you can also use vegetable stock instead of chicken stock as well. So we're just gonna add this entire one in here. We have that all mixed in there. We have no lumps of coconut milk. You might think you're gonna have lumps of coconut milk, but it melts down quite quickly, and you shouldn't have any problems at all. Now to this, I'm also gonna add about a tablespoon of brown sugar. The brown sugar just kind of helps cut the acidity of the curry paste as well as the tomatoes that we're gonna add at the end. So we're gonna throw that in right now and get that all mixed in. And then we're gonna add in some fish sauce. Now fish sauce is pretty potent. It smells awful. Kind of like feet, I suppose, is what I've heard some people call it before. We're gonna add close to about a tablespoon of this. I don't usually measure this, just kind of go in by judgment, but if I had to say, it would be close to a tablespoon of fish sauce. It's also quite salty too, so wait until all your fish sauce is added and you have a good idea of what your soup tastes like before you add any more salt for seasoning. So now that we have most of everything in here, it's a really nice orangey color. We're just gonna bring this to a simmer and we're gonna let it go for probably about 25 minutes. Okay, so our soup has been simmering for about 20 minutes. I gave it a taste and it needed just a little bit more fish sauce, so I added a little bit more to that, probably about half a teaspoon. I'll give it a taste again after we add our following ingredients. So now that all of our vegetables are tender and good to go, this is where I'm gonna add our cup of diced tomato, juice and everything, as well as our diced chicken. We're gonna add in that. Now, I didn't completely dice this up, mostly for aesthetic purposes because I just don't like little squares of chicken in my soup. So I sliced it and then I just used my hands to pull it apart. This is a nice hearty soup. I like to serve this soup over either rice or rice noodles, or just nothing if you don't want to as well too. It's a fairly thick, hearty soup. While our chicken and tomatoes is heating up in the soup, I'm gonna add about half of our fresh cilantro in here as well. The other half I'm gonna save for garnish after we plate up our soup as well. So we'll just give this a stir. We'll leave it about 5 minutes until the chicken is warmed through and the tomatoes are warmed through as well. Because they're already cooked, we don't need to boil it or cook it any further than this. Just as long as everything gets heated up, you're good to go. So now that our soup has simmered for another 5 minutes and everything is nice and heated through, just before I'm ready to serve, I'm going to add the juice of 1 lime, or half a lime, whatever you have handy. Easy way to do this is with a fork to just get all the juices out. If you find that your soup is too hearty and you want it more brothy, please feel free to add more coconut milk and more chicken stock. Just adjust your seasonings accordingly. So more fish stock if you need, more curry paste if you need, that kind of stuff. So we have our lime juice in there. Just give it a stir, and then you're gonna wanna taste just to make sure that your seasonings are correct. Add salt if you need to, pepper if you need to, a little bit more lime juice if that's necessary as well. Just gonna grab a spoon here and give it a taste. This soup that I made is quite hearty. I prefer mine a little bit heartier than not. And our seasonings are good, so we don't have to add anything else to this. So I like to serve my soup over just some rice. I had some rice that I had cooked earlier and I'm gonna add it in here. I don't bother picking out the lime leaves. They just keep adding flavor the longer it sits. And we like to play a fun game in our house where whoever ends up with the lime leaf in their soup or their curry has to do all the dishes. You can play that game with anything, any stews, soups, bay leaves, lime leaves. And it's a great way if you're serving yourself to get out of doing the dishes because you can just pass that leaf on to somebody else. So we've added this over the rice. I'm just gonna garnish it with a little bit of cilantro, and then I usually serve it with a lime wedge as well. I hope that you've enjoyed today's video, and I hope that you enjoyed today's soup. I'm going to eat this right away, and have a great day. Stay safe at home, Manitoba.